Hey, welcome back. This is Barry J, and you are back for Foundation Conversations. This is March Dadness, a conversation about living and leading as fathers and professional athletes. We want to thank everyone for coming back and visiting with us and watching us and tweeting what we're talking about, Instagramming and Facebooking. If you're Facebook living us, thank you very much. Again, you can also watch this later on. We're going to keep this running on our site on YouTube and also on Facebook Live or Facebook as well. So, first person I want to make sure I introduce first is going to be Marcus Smith. He's a 6 year NFL veteran, former first round draft pick, a proud girl dad in the house. Originally from Columbus, Georgia, Marcus played collegiate football at the University of Louisville before being drafted in the first round by the Philadelphia Eagles. Off the field, Marcus is a proud advocate for mental health awareness and is dedicated to helping Black men be the best fathers they can be. He is currently utilizing his platform to fight the stigma of therapy in Black and Brown communities through a new social series, Men Talking Health. Welcome aboard, Marcus. Thanks for being in here with us.
Man, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Excellent, excellent. So my next guest is going to be Mr. Etan Thomas. Has been a personification of the activist athlete. His entire 11-year NBA career, Thomas has defied the stereotype of the apolitical athlete, planting his roots in his formidable literary career, passion for mentoring and civic engagement. Born in Harlem, New York, and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Man, that's a big swat, man. That's a switch right there, man.
It is.
From Harlem to Oklahoma.
Mhm.
Um, sure, I got to go back. All right. His childhood was surrounded by books on the civil rights movement, politics, and the 1960s. Look, hey, thanks again, Tom. Appreciate you having and being with us today, brother.
Oh, I appreciate it. Looking forward to the discussion.
Excellent, excellent. And last but not least, Tavon Mason, a former NFL wide receiver for the New York Jets. He was born in Baltimore, Maryland, graduated from Woodlawn High School in 1998, accepted a full athletic scholarship to attend the University of Virginia. In 2011, after retiring from 2 seasons in the NFL and 1 season with the Baltimore Mariners in the Indoor Football League, he started coaching high school football at Woodlawn High School and started his foundation. Tavon Mason loves the kids. Tavon, oh, did we lose you, bruh? All good. I still introduced you. So when you come on back on with us, we'll be ready for you. Gentlemen, again, thank you for being a part with us today. And one of the first questions I got to just come out just because I'm reading your bios and I'm seeing a singularity here. And why did you all choose to have a social responsibility to your community? I'm going to start with you, Mr. Tom, first, then Marcus.
Well, growing up and I'm reading about athletes, my mother's talking to me about athletes. So the ones that I'm reading about, she's telling me about are Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali, John Carlos, and Tommy Smith. Those are the athletes that I'm reading about. So that's what I grew up admiring. And I admired how they used their positions and their platforms to stand up for different causes and how they cared about the community. I actually just did an interview with Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf that came out today. And I read about him in high school, him and Craig Hodges and what they did and everything like that. So that's the kind of athlete I always aspired to be from a young age. So that was always the plan.
That's all good. Marcus.
Man, for me, I just think like coming from where I come from in Columbus, Georgia, it's like not a lot of people come back to the city, just in general, and do things for the community. And for me, I wanted to do something different. I'm really big on mental health. I am a girl dad, so I kind of wanted to do those things with Black fathers. We are kind of looked down upon as people that don't take care of their kids, and I truly believe that us showing that and that being something that is a factor in what we do, I just think that it was pivotal for me. So I just think being from Columbus, Georgia, me wanting to give back to the community was something that was imperative for me.
Excellent, excellent. Tavon, I see we got you in here. Welcome aboard, brother. How's everything today?
I appreciate you guys, and everything's going good. And I'm still here at my school. We started spring football coaching at my alma mater, Woodlawn High School, and just finished chopping it up with the coaches, preparing for this Friday's first game. And stayed up here to get everything done. Because I just heard Marcus talk. When I leave here, I don't take it home. Go and maybe spend time with the wife and kids. So yeah, but I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to be on here and glad and happy for the invite.
Excellent, excellent. We're happy to have you on board. But I'm gonna let you wrap up the last question, and that question was, what what made you choose your certain field for social responsibility in your community? So you went to back to coach football. What brought on that choice?
Coaching, I just love the game. I know sometimes some athletes when they done playing, it's like I did it. I was told what to do for years. I'm tired of doing this schedule. I want to do my thing. I just love the game. But when I came back and trickling over to working in a school system or working in group homes, I know one of the top things for our kids, meaning our black boys, our black girls, sports help align us. And I know it helped align me to keep me from going further into the streets or stuff in the neighborhood. The discipline factor, I still had my grades, but the sports aspect helped take some of that energy out of me. But I also knew having that tag as a former player would grab the attention of kids when I talk to them. That way I give it that 3 minutes for them to ask me stuff, and then I can go to where I want to go after that. Because when I speak, I harp on the NFL thing for a little bit because I know that's a big draw. But I also circle it back around to what's the main key, and that's for our kids to get their education. And everywhere I go, if I'm asked to speak, I take my college degree. And how was the NFL? It's and that. And I'm like, I only got to play 2 years, but and I hold up my degree. This lasts forever.
Mm.
So, and also, again, I heard Marcus said about getting back to community, and I know we all do. That was my big thing. I just felt like it was my purpose. I got the opportunity, grow up in West Baltimore. We moved to the county. By the time I got to the middle elementary, mom and dad split up going into the ninth grade. Brother was in college, so it was nobody else in the house. And that's when I started to kind of sway a little bit and doing stuff. And I felt like if I was able to make it out of West Baltimore and Baltimore County and going to Middle Woodlawn High, then I had to give it back. I got to go on a higher stage. I got to go to UVA, a top school. So I wanted to trickle it back down, starting back in 2011 when I first really started hitting the ground running. And then the coach thing just fell into piece. The coaching allow you to mentor on top of coaching a game or the sport that you love to coach, and especially when it comes to the middle school, the high school level. So it just reiterating, pushing the kids to want to do more than just the sports aspect. I just want to be a football player. I want to be a basketball player. I want to be a soccer player. And then when you hear, so what's going to happen if that don't work? Then you hear crickets. And I wanted them.
They lose the bit. Did we lose Tavon again? All right, cool. We'll come back now. Oh, you still there, brother?
Yeah, I'm still
Okay.
here.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Quick question for you, because Marcus, you brought this up, and I want to, and I didn't think about this question, but what is one of the black father myths that you just completely destroyed? Like you wanted to make sure that no one was able to look at you like X. So
Oh,
what? Yeah. So yeah. What's that myth that you just said? I'm gonna make sure no one's ever gonna look at me like that.
I think the number one myth for a black father is a deadbeat. I
Mm-hmm.
think that comes like people use that term like a lot. And a lot of times, like coming from our communities, what we're accustomed to seeing growing up, we have a lot of young fathers who get young women pregnant and don't necessarily know what it takes to be a father at that age. So that's where I feel like the term mostly comes, but it comes from being an adolescent and not really knowing what that entails. So for me, it was really big for me to I played for 6 years, but when I had my daughter, I actually wasn't playing. I had walked away from the game because of mental health reasons. But the thing about it was I wanted to make sure that I was present. I wanted to make sure that I was there. I wanted to make sure that she seen me every single day. And I used to think about that a lot when I was playing, because a lot of the people that I was playing with, they had nannies, they had all these other things going, and I really ain't want to do that. I really just I wanted to be a part of her life because I seen my sister. My sister had kids at a young age, and so I seen that with my father, with her, not their connection wasn't as strong as me and my daughter's connection is. And I think the one thing that I did was I created, well, not created, but I made sure that I was like doing bath time with her and spending that quality time with her and reading to her, just little stuff like that, stuff that she won't forget, that she'll take with her as she grows, and connecting and building that bond with her.
That's what's up. Love that. Etan, your biggest black father myth that you just destroy or bust out.
Well, it's interesting. So while I was playing, I wrote a book called Fatherhood Rising to the Ultimate Challenge. And the reason why I wrote it wasn't because I thought that I was a fatherhood expert or anything like that. It was because I grew up where, my parents were divorced when I was really young. So I grew up as a single parent in a single parent household. And I got a chance to, visit with my dad and see my dad on visitations. But anybody that's in that situation knows that it's different than having your dad there every single day. And a lot goes on between one visitation and the next. So I grew up with a lot of anger that my father wasn't there as much as I wanted him to be. And so, around I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And, back then, a lot of gangs was really big. And a lot of the gangs would move from LA and come up and set up shop in little places like Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Arkansas, or I don't know if y'all remember banging Little Rock, you know what I mean? Like that's how it was where I grew up. And all these guys were going to gangs, and I understood why, because the gang became your family. You know what I mean? The OGs, they were like your father figure. And I got it. I understood why they did it. It was just that for me at that time, middle school, that really impressionable time, I started really getting into Malcolm X. So I was looking at something different. And so as I'm getting older and stuff, I'm having this anger. I'm learning about my culture, but I'm still battling the anger of not having my father there. I'm seeing all these guys make terrible decisions, guys that should have played in the NBA way before me, that was way better than me. You know what I mean? Like not even close. But they made these bad decisions. They hooping Crips, they Bloods, they neighborhood Crips, and they ain't go to college. Some of them get shot, some of them in jail, all of this stuff. And I have no problem saying they could play way better than me. And so as I'm seeing that, as I'm getting older, I'm like, well, I want to do something to kind of curve this path that I see a lot of guys going on. And so one of the main reasons why I wanted to write the book, and this is answering your question, the fatherhood myth that I wanted to break. I wanted to break the myth that if you come from a so-called broken home, that you have to go down this certain path, that you have to, you remember them telling the statistics to you that if you come from a broken home, you're more likely to end up in jail, in a gang, impregnated to a woman, something like, you know what I mean? All these, I'm like, well, wait, it don't have to be like that though. Y'all acting like it's a foregone conclusion. And so I wanted to, recruit different guys who grew up in single parent households and let them tell their story about how they didn't, they chose a different path, how they didn't go down that route. Because a lot of times you see guys, on the court or the field or music or anything like that, all politics, whatever, but you don't know their backstory. You don't know the mountains that they had to climb to get to where they are. And I wanted to make an inspirational book really for young men growing up in a single parent household like I did, had that anger like I did, had those pulls of, going different ways, but can see, look, I'm looking at all these different men and they made it, so then I can make it too. And that's what I really wanted to, show them with my fatherhood book. So that's the fatherhood myth I wanted to really break.
Love that, man. Love that. Let me see. Tavon, it looks like he's still spinning. So I'm gonna circle back to him. But And again, Marcus, man, you leading me in really well, brother. I appreciate it, man. You dropped some gems, and it's like that's the next question I wanted to ask. So I appreciate the little layup there, brother. I appreciate it, man. A little assist.
Can
So
y'all hear me?
yep, we can hear you now. We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
I piggyback on both of them guys, Marcus and Etan, both myths. We get in and then we get out kind of myth. You know what I mean? We just here to conquer type thing.
mm,
You know what I mean? We here to rack up our tick marks on how many women we can get with, how we sleep with, and we roll out. Just like Etan, like I said before, graduating. No, actually, it was seventh grade. I thought it was eighth grade, but it was like seventh grade. That's when the dysfunction started in my household. Before it was the lovingness, the happiness, and then we started to see my brother and I. I'm the youngest brother, so we started to see that divide between mom and dad. Dad staying out longer, and it would just be me, my brother, my mom. When it's want to go outside and throw the football around. No, I'm gonna watch this game. So I started to gravitate. I'm sorry, to certain things in my neighborhood. And the crazy thing was, I didn't do none of that stuff in the city, but that's when my mom and dad were still together, and I lived in the heart of Baltimore, right off of Franklin Street, before they tore the high rises down in Murphy Home Projects. That's where we went to George Street Elementary, and we lived in Emerson Village, and then we moved out right off of Windsor Mill by Kearney Hospital in Forest Park. But when seventh grade came, I saw the difference. I saw the change in the household. So it started to divide. So me and my brother started gravitating more to my mom because that other element was gone. So my getaway was when I get dropped off to football practice. So when I got dropped off to football practice, that was kind of like my relief and my release. And it would go from seeing my dad in the parking lot cleaning his car off to like, okay, he's still here, till to the point where I'm in the middle of practice. I turn to look for the car gone. But after the fact and find out, I know why it was gone, because that was his time to go do his thing with the other lady. So in my mind, that's when I started to fade out. Like, well, okay, well, I'm gonna start to fade out. But the one thing I never swayed away from was having good grades, because how I hustled it was, if I do good in school, but I get caught with doing the dumb stuff in the neighborhood, my mind state was, they're gonna ask, okay, what type of student is he? If they notice I'm getting A's and B's, they're gonna say, well, okay, well, maybe he's just a kid just being a kid. But if you're messing up in school and you're messing up in the neighborhood, then they're gonna say it's another factor that's causing him to be that way. So I bounced it out from hustling a little bit and doing the dumb stuff and saying, well, if I do good in the one avenue where they're going to check, because I'm still young, is he a good student? You know what I mean? Well, I'm getting A's and B's, straight A's, but he's doing his stuff. Oh, he'll blow over. They would never catch on to it. And my biggest thing, just like the other fellas, is just, being black fathers, though we never around. My first kid was a daughter. I had my oldest daughter going into my third year of college, scared as I don't know what, at 20 years old. And she's now 20, you know what I mean, at 20 years old. And I had my moments when, her mom and they stayed in Richmond, but I never faded out. Even if mom didn't meet me halfway to pick her up on 95, I'm driving all the way to Richmond on a Friday, turn right back around 8 hours. So 8 hours all day, because I knew in my head I didn't want to be like some of the dads, some of my friends' dads who I saw. And even at a point, my own dad that kind of like vacated a little bit. And then with her being a girl, growing up in high school, I saw girls that did not have their dads at all. The avenues they moved to, and to be honest, they were the ones that we kind of preyed on, because they're like, well, they're looking for us to satisfy or gratify, so I get what I want. But at the same time, I'm teaching my oldest daughter, and not even my youngest daughter, the mind of a young man. And my oldest daughter got to the point where she was comfortable with me in ninth grade telling me about boyfriends, or if they had a breakup, crying to me, because I created that bond. I kept that bond just like the other fellas. So the big myth that I wanted to break was the same one as the other fellas, the Marcus and Etan, that we are here, but at the same time of building something, and not just being that, oh, you bet not type father, but that, you know what, okay, I don't like what you're doing, but I'm gonna hear you out, and then let me give you some stepping stones to help you when the next challenge comes along.
It's good stuff.
That's excellent, man. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, man. So you all of you touched on this a little bit, and again, I love the fact that we're all girl dads here because I got two little ones here, and Atan, I've seen you with your daughter. Marcus, you mentioned she's two.
Yeah, she's two.
She's two, and Tavon, you got a 20-year-old young lady. So, all right, this came up in my household. This question, and my wife and I got into this discussion. True discussion, debate, because Valentine's Day for your daughters, how far do you go out? So the debate was for me, I go out for my daughters every day. So like there are certain routines that my daughters expect from me, and I'm hoping that that translates to later on in their life and whatever that I am a reflection of the man they're going to be looking for because I want to make sure I am that guy. I can never be off because they're always watching. So my question to you guys is off wall question because this was in my household. My wife was like, Valentine's Day, you need to go all out for your baby girls because you don't want no little knucklehead coming up in here and just showing them some flowers. And I'm like, well, I show love every day. So it's not just about Valentine's Day, but I want to just throw this out to not only us, but to our Twitterverse and to Facebook world and all that. Do you go all out just for Valentine's Day, or is it an all time or all the time thing, or is it just a balance? And Marcus, I'm gonna go with you first, Etan second, and then Tavon, you last.
Well, I think first and foremost, for me, Valentine's Day, I'm not truly a big fan of Valentine's Day. But I don't necessarily like go all out, but I feel like for me it's like the small things. Like I might like do something like real small, like get her like a little teddy bear and a piece of candy, right? Or just showing like really compassion, really like baby, I care about you, things of that nature. But for me on that end, I don't like I think it is a balance when you said a balance like honestly. But I just think that like the everyday thing, like we show love every single day. I feel like that is more important, and long as they see that every day, because at the end of the day, it's about loving themselves first. And no one like if they give you roses or no one should be able. You should make yourself happy first, and I want to convey that first before anything.
Excellent.
I think that's good. So I have two daughters, and my wife, we talked when they were younger, about how important it is to kind of set the tone for them as far as what to expect, and how a man is supposed to treat them. And my wife explained to me, from when they were young, she was like, well, your father is, kind of like the first man that you love, the first man that you are looking at. So that's going to translate very heavily to her rest of her life. So I got into a routine of giving them flowers on Valentine's Day. But then I got into a different routine of really being able to talk to them about things. My oldest daughter is 13 now. So anybody that has teenagers, that opens up a whole different level. So what we do is, we watch movies or we watch, shows or watch something like that. And I let that be the conduit into us having a discussion. So for instance, just last weekend, we watched Higher Learning, right? So if you
pulled something to the library, didn't you?
Yeah. I watch, we watch old school stuff, that's just how it always is. But so we're watching Higher Learning. If y'all remember that movie, it's a deep movie, but the part where in the beginning where the white girl went to the frat party and then her homegirls left her, and then she went with the boy and they had that kind of date rape thing, right? And so I'm talking to my daughter about it. And I'm saying, talking about how important it is to be careful not to believe a boy that tries to whisper things into your ear, tell you a little compliment, and then you just melt just because like you ain't never heard no compliment before. So we're talking about all those things, and then she's opening up to me about seeing different things happen, you know, with her friends or something like that. And then we have a conversation. And I've had to have a lot of conversations that, you know, as far, you know, with sons, it's different. You know what I mean? It's just, I got a son, it's different with him. But with girls, you know, it's uncomfortable to have conversations talking about stuff like that. But
I'm not ready.
But they're so necessary. And the thing about it is they're exposed to so much more than we were when we were younger. Like I mean, just as far as the internet and social media and talking to their friends, and they exposed to so much stuff. And even in the shows that they watch, like I'll sit down and watch some shows with them. I was like, well, this ain't really for kids. What's all this topic that they all putting all in here and stuff like that? But so you have no choice but to discuss it, because if you don't discuss it with them, that means that they're going to discuss it with their friends. And you don't know what they're going to be saying. You know what I mean? So that's been really how I've been, you know, bonding and talking with my daughters and talking to them about music. You know what I mean? We've had the whole conversation about when WAP came out. I was like, you know, have y'all heard this song WAP? And my daughter was like, she didn't know she was going to get in trouble for it. She was like, yeah, I heard it. And I was like, it's not a trap or nothing. You know what I mean? You heard it.
Let's talk. We all right.
We had a whole long conversation about how girls devalue themselves, and historically, even going back to biblical days, use sex as the only way and to be able to be tantalizing with a man, and that's all the man sees. So I had to have the whole conversation with him, but I knew, because I know I saw it was the #1 song. I was like,
yep.
So that means if it's the #1 song, then they've heard this before. So let me just ask them if they heard this, you know? So it's tough, but that's my way of, you know, talking to them through like music and movies and things of that nature. So I think that's more important. I think it's still important with the Valentine's Day and making it feel special, but really that communication with their father in particular, I think that's so important.
Indeed. Tavon, bring us on, brother.
So I'm on the side of, I think Marcus say he has a young daughter. I'm on the side of Etan. So my oldest is 20. I have a young daughter that's 15. So I'm on the back end of dealing with the teenage phase. But when they were of the younger age, Valentine's Day was big. I remember vividly one Valentine, I took them down to I think it was called Pizzeria Uno. It was down at the Baltimore Harbor. So it was like Chicago style. And we got dressed up and I took them out and for Valentine's Day. As they got older, even when my daughter was in high school, I would mail down Valentine's stuff. I'd get my youngest daughter like candy, because I know they liked candy and stuff like that, but I would still give them something for Valentine's Day. And my biggest thing now with them is, like you're telling, is that connection. You know what I mean? So my biggest thing, my youngest daughter at 15, is just getting her comfortable with being honest, whether it's something that she would believe that is bad, or she might get in trouble for. But what I try to explain to her now, one, you're too old for me to yell. I'm too old to be yelling and stuff. But instead of yelling and pushing you away, I want us to have this talk. Yeah, I'll be upset what happened, but to have this talk so you can see it. So I try to talk to her coming from a boy trying to get with her. So, and telling her, when I was young, I know where my mind state was at that 7th through 12th grade range. You know what I mean? And I'm like, with you being in 9th grade, and you guys dealing with the technology age, and I'm 40. So I kind of grew through technology going through college. So, but in high school, we didn't have, you can quickly push a send button and you get everything. So I'm trying to teach her, when you go on a post, or if you're thinking about sending this, remember, in the long run, that stays in that cloud, or it stays in the air. It can be pulled down at any time. And just to cover yourself far as your reputation and who you are, because the ones that are tight to you are the one that's going to help you out. So the ones that, oh, come on, come do this, come do that, they're not your real friends. We just had a talk recently. I told her you need to start analyzing your circle. And I said, do you know what I mean by analyze? She was like, no. I said, well, you need to start looking at who will not put you in a predicament or situation that can harm you. So I told her about one of my good friends, he's like a little brother, and he was out there. He was halfway kingpin status. And remember when I finished my second year with the Jets, just waiting to get a call, I came back home and we ran into each other. He actually came out for a game at UVA. We played Florida State. And when I came back from New York with the Jets, we ran into each other at home. And I remember going down to go see him. And I was sitting out there with him and, the people who he run with. And then, someone whispered to him and he was like, oh, Tay, go ahead and roll. Get it with you later. And I told her that story. I said, that's a true friend. Because he knew what I wanted to do and what I'm trying to do, he pushed me off and said, I'll get back with you later when I leave this area and I don't want you a part of this. So I told her, start analyzing who's around you and who will really push you off to make sure that you're straight and to know that your mom, your dad don't want to see you do those type of things. So now, again, I'm on the lines of, let's sit down, let's talk. Let's have a conversation on the phone with my oldest daughter, her third year in college. You're going to try some certain things, you know what I mean? So I'm on there now. Don't try nothing if you haven't purchased it, you haven't made it, you haven't poured it. If it comes open, don't do it. And I tell her, like, I don't want you to try it, but I know you are. It's just the reality. But, and she got comfortable with telling me stuff she tried. And I would say, okay, well, you try that. Don't do that specific thing because you don't know what's being put in it or what their motive is. So again, if you haven't made it or bought it yourself brand new, do not try it just because of what's going on now and is elevated, especially for our young girls and our daughters to be trapped in or to be drugged, anything of any sort to pull in. You know what I mean? I'm trying to have those conversations now and to leave that door open just to come in, hey, Dad, I need to talk to you, instead of being that, you got not this and that, and then they go run towards it.
Right. That's good stuff.
Excellent. Yo, man,
Y'all
so it
teaching
sounds
me some
like
things, man. Yeah.
and I got to say this because I'm loving this conversation because I've already told anyone who knows me, my daughters will have my man card. They're going to know whatever game that's coming at them. They say, oh, yeah, Dad told me about this. Daddy, I'm waiting for them to come home and say, he tried to hit me, but he told me he loved me. And just us having this a big laugh about it, So I'm waiting for those days because I want to prep them to know where you're going, what's happening. It's
Right.
just, oh man. But so thank you for that, guys. I mean, so the balance sounds like is what I really need to be concentrating on because I wasn't huge on Valentine's Day, not my wife's around here too, so wasn't huge, but
Ain't no guys huge on Valentine's Day.
Nah.
You know what I mean?
Thank you, man.
That's a holiday for them. You know what I mean? That ain't holiday for us.
No, what?
And never fall for that. Oh, you don't gotta give me nothing. No, that's a setup. You
know what I
mean? Like this. If you got some real boys, everybody's like this. Nah, don't fall for that, man. Don't fall for that.
For real.
Give us some.
So then I'm loving the fact that we're talking about our baby girls here, man. And now I want to know how. So I think most of you didn't have, when you first started playing professionally, you did not have kids. Is that correct?
I did.
You didn't? Okay.
No,
Etan didn't. Marcus didn't. Tavon did, I think.
Yeah.
How did when you started playing professionally and kids came, how did that affect your life? Because I had a follow-up question to that too. Because first I want to know how the kids affected your life. Then I got a crazy question on the back end of that.
Oh, it changed everything. I mean, for me, being young, traveling everywhere in the NBA, going down to Miami, going down to Atlanta, going up to New York, it was fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then when your kids start verbalizing that they miss you and they're like, oh, you got to go again? You just got here. And you're like, I missed my son's first steps. I was on a road trip. And my wife was trying to help me out, trying to push him over. Now don't walk yet till your daddy get back. But he trying to walk. So he's stepping and I missed his first steps. Like stuff like that hurt. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just different. Everything was just different once the kids came along. But also, it put things into perspective for me. Because me having a bad game is not the end of the world. I'm going home to my family and knowing that and one thing I always, wanted to do is no matter what's happening on the court, I leave that alone after I leave, and I go be present with my family because they don't care. Like my son running up to me, he don't know that I actually played terrible the game. You know what I mean? He's just happy to see me at the game. Hey,
Right.
Daddy! You know what I mean? To come up. So leave all the everything at the game and just being with them. And they really I'll not to sound cliche or something like that, but they really brighten up like my entire life. You know what I mean? Like you
Yes.
just put stuff is just in perspective, and you find out what really is important. And you love the game. Like I love the game and everything like that. But in the bigger scheme of everything, it just puts things into perspective. If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense.
Yeah, it definitely did. Mine was funny because I had mine again. My oldest daughter Jordan going into my third year. It was the summer of my second year. Jordan was born July 2000, July 8th, 2000. So I'm going to my third year and still trying to find my way through UVA and get on the team. And she helped me in college stop worrying about football. So I came in, we already got the mentality of we being hardcore here in Baltimore. We always frowning, we always mean, and I carried that over to college. But then really getting to see that past high school sports become a business, it really rubbed me wrong because I picked up on I'm just basically like a person in a position until the next person get plugged in, So when she came, it helped me stop thinking about football. Because I remember, still, I'm not gonna lie, I still held a little grudge with my dad, but we were talking, but when my dad would call, the most connection we had was, hey son, what's going on? Like, hey dad, what's going on? How was football? It's all right. How did you do in practice? It was all right. So that was like the gist of our conversation. It was just the sports aspect. And I remember when Jordan was born, and he called one day, probably one of my last year there at UVA, and he said, "Hey, how was football?" I told him, like, I don't know. So the only thing I'm worried about is Jordan having fun and spending time with Jordan. And it clicked the switch on him. Was like, I got to come a different way now when interacting with Tavon, because it's no more football. He still loves it, but it's to the back burner now. Just like Etan is to the back burner, and he got Jordan to the forefront, and that helped me. That helped me play more. I was looser in practice because in my mind, in practice, I'm thinking about I play good. I do what we're supposed to do. I get out the field quick, then I can go see Jordan, and we can hang out, and that's it. So it does help you balance out, and it helped me mellow out and not taking stuff so seriously. Even when on my rookie year at with the Jets, we was on Hartford campus, and they said, well, you can't have visitors. But Jordan then was living in Richmond. So if I would go home doing lifting and running, doing our training in March, I would pick her up, and I would drive from New York, go home for the day, pick her up the next day, and I would bring her back up for the week. So she would stay in the dorm. I took her in the locker room with me. She out there trying to jump over the pads. But it was just the whole fact of she's here with me. So I get to take her down in Times Square to the huge Toys R Us when they had it open, and she get to see the huge Barbie section. And it erased the fact that I rode from Long Island to Baltimore, from Baltimore to Richmond, from Richmond back to Baltimore, went to the Baltimore Zoo, and from Baltimore all the way back to Long Island on a Sunday night to get up the next morning and lift, because this little person that looked like me and just running around, but to see her smile at this huge Toys R Us, that was like the best thing ever. So I think with having her early and just having just in general now, it slows a lot of things down for me. I'm not perfect, but it slows a lot of things down for me, and I don't gripe and complain about the little dumb stuff like I would take seriously, because I know, like, well, all right, it is what it is. I get to go home. I called them on the phone. She actually called me Saturday, and it was like Etan said, when they start hitting that teenage and higher, no, you on the back burner now. So I'm taking advantage of all the phone calls and everything I can get.
Right.
When they get past that's my little baby age, anymore. And especially the same thing with my 15-year-old, who's here in Baltimore. I call and talk to her. I know I'm not high on the list because I'm dad, but any moment I get, I steal it, I take it. She was the same way when she was little. My first stint coaching here, I would bring up from school, and she would run around on the field. Same way when I coached at Stevenson University out here in Owens Mills, the kids would go out on the field. So that's my biggest thing is using what I'm doing to connecting with it, whether it's doing my foundation stuff, I'm doing readings in the neighborhood. They're right there with me so they can see it, but also know that, well, I'm not pushing them to the side so I don't miss out on a lot of stuff.
That's what's up, Marcus.
Oh,
Yeah, I think for me, in my last 2 years is when I had my daughter, and I think, man, the good thing about it is for me is like, we got FaceTime, we got all these other things, all the other components where we had camp in Richmond actually because I was playing with the Redskins, and my wife, she was living in Waldorf, or we were living in Waldorf, and we had we had to stay in a hotel. So like every chance that we would get a break or anything, she would bring her up, and we would spend that quality time. But it was definitely an adjustment, and it was hard at first because I wasn't when the baby was first born, I was with her all the time. But like when you go into camp mode, it's like you're gone, and like that was I really miss my child. Like, and I made sure I called her every single day, talked to her on the phone. And once the season started, because if you don't know with the NFL, once the season starts, like your work days are like Wednesday, Thursday, and those are pretty much your long days. So you might be in the building from 5 to 6 to 7 o'clock, right? And so basically, what I would do is that when I got home, like when I was talking about bath time, that would be my time to really connect and bond with her at the end of the day. And so it was definitely adjustment. It was super super hard, but it like I want to piggyback off of what Tavon has said. Like, it really kind of no, I think is it Etan?
it's
I'm
on.
sorry,
It's
but
on.
No, yeah.
yeah, um, um, what you had said, you basically said that it kind of you sit back and kind of realize like what's like more important, and
Mhm.
I really felt like man, family is everything, and like I don't care, my coach could be cussing me out
Yep.
like for the next 3 days. It's like,
Yep.
man, look, I get to go back home to a smiling girl. She don't want nothing but her dad and her mom.
Yep.
And that was exactly how I felt. And it's good for me to just be an entrepreneur now and to be very present in her life. I think we kind of like as football players, basketball players, like our jobs are very they need us there too, and it's something that we like to do, but at the same time, family is everything, like I said before.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. And it's so funny. I'm nowhere near being a professional athlete, but as a professional corporate trainer, took me on the road. So I remember where I was 98% of the time on the road. And my oldest, I'm calling home just to check in. She might have been barely talking, but she formed this sentence that said, Daddy, where are you? So, well, Daddy's at work. But well, you're supposed to go to work and come home. And that crushed me. And my wife
Yeah.
immediately jumped on the phone. She was like, I promise you, I did not teach her how to say that. I did not say she did that all on her own. And I was like, the very next week, man, I was like, man, I'm out of here, man. This is crazy. So I
Yeah.
mean, I can't keep doing so. I can definitely relate to that and understand that. First, and also before I want to say this, I want to send a special shout out to Jonathan. Thank you, Jonathan Newton. Thank you for your comment, man. We really appreciate you tuning in. But it's funny. Marcus, you mentioned something about bath time. So I call bath time happy hour. That is my happy hour. I mean, that is the times. All right, everybody, let's go. I mean, from 7 ish to like 8 ish, it's like bath time, getting everybody ready for bed. So, but that is my happy hour. I enjoy that. I love that, and it is just a great place to be. Now, before I forget, because this came up, and I heard all of you say this, and I want to make sure I get this question right. How did your hustle change after kids? Because I heard all of you say, you know what, after all this, I can go home to my baby girl. I can go home to see the smiling face. But did your hustle change in any way? And I see Marcus going like this. I'm gonna give you a second. Tavon, I want to go with you first, and
Okay.
then Etan, and then Marcus.
I'm gonna say with me, the hustle didn't change. the purpose for the hustle changed. So then I was hustling for me, even though Jordan was there. Jordan was young, but I was hustling for me because it was the young side. And in my mind was NFL or bust. I'm thinking of the cars, the houses. Now I'm in NFL. I got a football card, even though I was a free agent. And when she came, as she got older, when I got done playing, then my youngest daughter came. And then me and my wife have a blended family. So I had my 2 girls before meeting my wife. She had a son. And then we got 2 boys. So we got 5 total between both of us. And as I got older and I got done with playing, then the hustle became for a purpose. And another thing that I had to do is make sure that I kept especially Kaya, because my youngest daughter lived here just before the boys came, to keep her on the foreground. Because it's tough, and I know that the other fellas can attest to this. It's tough when you want to give back to your community. They know you're a former athlete, and everybody flock to you. Sometimes those ones that normally hold that higher stature kind of get pushed back to the back, because in our mind, we want to make sure we reach out to everybody and touch everybody and talk to everybody. And sometimes we forget that they need us as well. So when I would go and pop up on my youngest daughter when she was young, because I started doing my sports fit days like at her school, and when they found out I was an NFL player, I would walk through the building and try to sneak up on her classes. Oh, that's Tavon Mason. So then it got diverted from seeing my youngest daughter to the kids in the classroom. And it didn't really touch me until she got into first or second grade, when I came to visit her after going on the news to talk about my slipper drive. And I was in the cafeteria and the kids started flocking. And then she was like, oh boy. So I was like, okay, I had to hit the brakes and say, okay, y'all, I came to see Kaya, to spend time and eat lunch with her. I'll come back and see y'all guys another time. So that helped me, one, make sure that if I'm coming for her or any other kids, it's for them, and try to create some time with the principal, whoever, to see everybody else. Even though I live and I see her on a regular basis, it still is that side like, oh man, here we go again, and I didn't want her to feel, even though I wasn't like a big name celebrity, to feel like she's pushed to the back. So my hustle just changed for the purpose. So now everything I do, whether it's writing the children's books, whether it's coaching, my beer butter products, anything that I come up with is something to build for if they get older. If the girls want to take over the foundation that I got, or if they want help on how to start a business, or even pushing what they got going on, it's right there for them. And not having to struggle and pull and yank or try to figure it out by searching here, there, and there. So the hustle switch from myself to them and just the family in general. So, being here this late, what I mean? I know this helped building my resume to possibly get to college full time or wherever I want to get coaching in the long run, and just taking these bumps and bruises as far as doing stuff later. I know we'll get somewhere very, very soon.
That's what's up. Etan.
So for me, I mean, everything, the hustle, everything is done with the kids in mind now. It's like everything changes, and it's funny because when they were younger, and even now though, but we really started when they were younger. I turned into like Heathcliff Huxtable. Like every time I'm telling them a story about something, I'm like, I remember back in 1996, and I'm relating something to a story, and I'm doing literally that's what I'm doing all the time, and it's just amazing how your conversation changes, your thoughts change, you listen to music differently. You know what I mean? Because now I listen to music and I'm like, all right, then I need to break this down for my daughters. You know what I mean? About what to listen to. Everything is, watching the movie. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at different morals of the story that could be pulled out from the different movies that would be good for me to show my son. Everything is completely different. Like something that happens on the news, it's a teachable moment. Like everything is a teachable moment now with them, and so that's where everything kind of changed with me. And you know, they don't seem to mind it so too much, you know. But I noticed how, and I talked to some of my friends also, my boys that we got kids now, and it's like, when did that happen that we just start telling parables and stories and stuff? You know? But it's a beautiful thing though, and
Don't feel bad, man. You're not by yourself,
I'm
man.
not
I'm
by
the same
myself.
way. Nah, man. You're not out there by yourself, man. And I got little ones, and I'm giving them stories. You know
Yeah,
what? When I was a kid,
yeah.
and I'm like, I done turned into my father,
You
man.
know what I mean? For real.
Marcus, let me hear you from you, brother.
Man, I think for me it just wasn't like when my daughter was born and I actually was in there and I got to hold her, seeing the birth. Like first of all, birth for a woman is like it just changed your whole perspective of life in general. Like I had way more respect for my wife after that. Like it was just like it was almost like then I got to hold her and it was like instantly it was like it's not about me anymore. It's not about me like at all. So everything I do now is just for them. It's like the grind and the hustle. It definitely I feel like it was like a gear that kind of like switched. It was like, hey, like this is what you have to do, but ultimately it's for your family, because my biggest thing is creating generational wealth and allowing it to trickle down, trickle down, trickle down. So that's kind of how I think of it. And for me it wasn't about me anymore. And I actually have a baby boy on the way, due in
Congratulations,
two in
man.
two
Congrats.
months. So
Congrats.
Congrats.
man, I'm really trying to build I'm trying to build a roster over here, trying to build a team, man, and just create those memories. And man, I'm glad that I'm on here talking with older fathers, because it gives me stuff to look forward to, and gives me pointers, and it's definitely likely what I need, because I have so young children. So man, I'm really excited for that, man.
Excellent. Look, we're happy to have you, man. We love to be able to just use each other's experiences. That's what this whole Fathers Foundations and Fathers Conversations are all about. So this is going to be my last question for us, because we're going to wrap this up in a second. So we got to. This is kind of it's serious, but I'm being a little playful with it at the same time. So pre kids, pre wives, how tough was it to navigate, make sure I say this right, the dating world? I'm using the word dating very loosely, because as professional athletes, it is your targets. Some people will say your targets. So, how was dating or being in the field? Was that a
Oh,
hard
that's good.
navigation? Yeah, you like that? So that's
No,
how you
that's
said
good.
something,
That's good when you said it. So,
right?
so let me take the first one to stab at this
Yeah,
one.
jump on that one.
So I was, so me and my wife met in college, college sweethearts, and so we were, with each other all through college, and then we took a break after college, and I went to the league, and we took a break for a minute, right? So I get to the league, and I'm drafted by the Dallas Mavericks, but then I get traded to the Washington Wizards. Okay. Now I'm at the Washington Wizards, supposed to be a young team. We're supposed to be terrible. Ain't nobody supposed to even be thinking about us, right? Everybody's just supposed to be playing. And then MJ comes out of retirement, right?
Mhm.
So now I'm rolling with MJ, and rolling with MJ was like a shocker to me. Like it was like, so you're, imagine, the images that you see of like when Michael Jackson like landed at a place and you got thousands of people and they look at him and then they faint and then they pass it out. That's how it was for us rolling with MJ. And so I saw women literally throwing themselves but these are like not regular but famous women. Do you know what I mean? Like famous people. So that had me thinking like, oh, well, I need to go ahead and settle down, because these women, to be honest with you, to be all the way honest, it made me have a certain image of women because that's all I was seeing when I was rolling with, and because that's all that was coming at us. It was like, you know what I mean? Like from everywhere. And talking to a lot of the older guys, I'm listening to them, and guys that have gone through divorces, gone through everything like that. And I'm listening, like you said, you're listening to us because we're older. I'm sitting there listening to older guys, and they're like, look, if you got a good woman, hold on to her. You know what I mean? And they were like, and don't mess up, and don't be tantalized by all of this stuff. And they just put me on game, and I'm listening to them, but they're telling me from experience. They're not telling me like just as some after school special. They're saying like, look, I can tell you firsthand. You know what I mean? Like everything that glitters is not gold. You know, like hit me with all that knowledge, and I'm just listening to them. And I'm like, dang. And I'm looking at them. They going through their, trials and tribulations, going through divorces, going through all this different stuff. And that kind of, kept me focused. You know what I mean? And brought me right back. And then I didn't look at it the same way that you would look at it first coming in, and you have the most beautiful women on earth all throwing themselves. You know what I'm saying? It's just different. And so that seeing, and again, it was for MJ. You know what I mean? It's not like I don't think it was for me. It was for MJ. But seeing it was like an eye opener for me. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like, oh wow, this is it was a lot. So that's what grounded me real quick. I'll just say it like that.
Yeah, I definitely can attest. I think the thing with me was it was even before getting there. It was just the way stuff I saw growing up, and just us being boys and men is like in our thing to conquer and to add. So with me having an older brother, he didn't keep me from stuff. Sometimes you have older brothers and sisters like, man, I don't want him around. He was never like that. I was just talking to my wife the other day, my wife and my brother-in-law, of how I was in the 8th grade and my brother was in the 12th grade, and him and his friend, they let me get in the car and go up to Greek Fest with them, to the plateau, the famous park on Summertime Video with Fresh Prince. So I'm in the 8th grade and I'm going up to the plateau and walking around. I'm like breaking my neck. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm looking around at that young age. So a lot of stuff I got hip to and saw at a younger age. I think that's why like the whole party life got old to me very fast, because I kind of saw it fast, between hanging with my brother, or uncles who had that would switch girlfriends at the drop of a dime, and stuff like that. So my mind state was, I'm going to New York. Oh, shoot, it's about to be out the chain. That's the first thing I thought. I'm about to have a blast, because it was like in my mind state to conquer, but it ran out of my system rather quick, opposed to my wife, who was different, who, she had more of a strict upbringing, because, her dad is a pastor, the whole family lineage. So she got her party stuff on the back end. So when her party and stuff was going up, I'm coming down because I already did that. So, and I didn't play off of the professional athlete life. It was just ingrained to me. If I want shorty, I'm going to get her, and I'm going to keep hitting that gas pedal until I get it. If I got it, then once it's done, it's kind of like that whole chase. When a lion chases a gazelle, once you get it, it's like, all right, I'm done. I'm going to the next thing. It was kind of like that. So I had to shift my mind state as I got older and as my daughters got older. So, having the girls first helped me start tearing down as well, opposed to having the boys first, when you was like, well, son, this is going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm like, well, I got to shift gears, because if I'm doing this and my girls are starting to see this, that's going to be trouble. And I can't get mad if that happened with them, because I'm doing the same thing.
Right. Marcus.
Man, I grew up in a single parent household too as well. My parents divorced when I was in the 4th grade, and it was because of infidelity. And so I always took the mindset like, man, I don't really want to be like that. Even my dad he used to say stuff like, play the field. And, I always felt some type of way about that because, as a young person, you don't really understand exactly, but you kind of do. You know what I mean? And I think once I got to college, I'm not gonna sit up here and say, I didn't have my fair share, but at the same time, I had a girlfriend throughout college, and having a girlfriend and trying to be faithful and doing those things really kept me focused, right? And so I didn't really party as much as I could have. And, I think that's a lot of the reason why I played so well, because I had a girlfriend and I didn't do as much. So when I got to the league, the girlfriend I was with at the time, we ended up breaking up. And once I got to the league and I started seeing, like, you talk about it being eye openers, like, I mean, you're exposed to like everything, like, being on a team, like being on a team with Shady, Michael Vick, like, all these people, and you like exposed to all this stuff. But at the same time, it was never like a thing where I always thought about like where I wanted to be, and like single life for me was like never prosperous for me for whatever reason. It just wasn't. Like everybody would just be telling me their stories. Like, he had homeboys tell you what happened. Like, bro, like that ain't never happened to me. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm just, for me, I end up, I prayed about it, because, I had a situation with a girl who basically she pinned like a baby on me, right, at first, right? And that wasn't the case, but it was just one of those situations where like I'm like, okay, well, I need to be in a relationship, obviously, because this is not for me. And I ended up meeting my wife. She went to the University of Penn. She's a nurse, and we met at a scroll off competition because one of my teammates, he was a Kappa, and I just happened to be on a college campus that day, right? And we met her, and then she pretty much changed my whole perspective of like women at that point in time, because I just felt like, man, like are all these women like that? Like, do they like
Right.
actually care about me? You know what I'm saying? I know, like, you start like really like it's like when you get to the league, it's like you just look like gorgeous now, like absolutely that much better than what you look, when you was in college, right? But she
You ain't
really,
regular no more now, huh? You ain't
right,
Right.
man,
that's
she
prime rib
changed.
right there.
I'm telling you, and she just changed. She changed my whole perspective. And the first time we talked, obviously, I know this might sound cliche, but we talked for hours and we had a conversation. And after that, it was smooth selling. That well, I ain't gonna say smooth selling, but it was just me being in a relationship was just the better suit for me, and I did not want to repeat what my dad did. I didn't want to repeat that. And for me, Christian man, and I understand that some things a lot of times it replays itself, like it's like generational, it's like a curse that just keeps going. And I wanted to end that with my wife and how I move forward. So
That's what's up.
That's what's up, man. Listen, gentlemen, thank you so very much. Did everyone answer that question? I think everybody answered that question, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so listen, look, that was a fun question. That's why I said it was going to be. Hey, look, I don't want to get nobody in trouble, but you know, I appreciate it.
Oh
Listen,
no, man. I think it's needed because sometimes in the situation we are, and in the sports we play, a lot of people deem it as being real glamorous until something come out. Then they get
Yep.
uh, what I mean, I thought about us, but don't. And our human side is taken away, like we X-Men or we like Superman or something like that, and
Yep.
don't realize, yeah, our talent, something that we worked hard, and it's our mindset that we wanted to do this. But at the end of the day, we still have feelings. We still make mistakes, and that stuff don't define us. Like as they say, for other people, it's the same way with us. But for us to come on to your show to talk about it, I think it helps dads, to help moms, to help young men to realize like, well, dad, I don't gotta feel like I'm trapped in this bubble where I can't make a mistake. I gotta move like I'm walking on eggshells. And that was another thing for me once I finished playing was to speak my truth and to speak it with other guys. So when we do have these young guys that come in front of us and, oh, you play this, you play that, but you also spoke on something that was caught onto or grabbed, you know what I mean? And the thing I know for me, a lot of moms come up to me and thank me for certain things I say because they're saying the same thing, but it never sounds the same coming from mom or if dad's there, but somebody else on the other side. Because my kids the same way. My daughters, they run through that area. My youngest daughter, they come out the other side. But if somebody else say the same thing, it's like, oh, okay, I got you.
Oh,
I don't mind that because I know I've been in the same position with talking to mentees that I work with or even people in the school that I work with.
I mean, that's real talk,
Tavon, real
though.
quick. Tavon, real quick. I want you to tell me about your foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and then Marcus, I want you to tell me about your organization, and same thing with you, Etan, so we can close this out because we
Okay.
really appreciate it. But I don't want to hold you guys. I want to
Oh, yeah.
keep us to like. I'm
Oh yeah,
enjoying the
no,
conversation.
I appreciate you guys, man. Ton and Marcus, man, great meeting you guys on here. Let's
Definitely.
definitely
Great meet
stay
too, man.
stay in contact. I send y'all my information on Instagram,
Please
my
do.
phone number and stuff.
Mhm.
And but yeah, Tavon Mason loves the kids.org. I'm a seasonal based organization, so basically, winter we do stuff in the men's shelters. I got a slipper drive that I've been doing for 9 years. Collecting slippers and going to different children's hospitals, surprising the kids, reading tours. Also do a healthy snack drive for Camp St. Vincent de Paul, the camp that catered to homeless kids here in Baltimore. And actually, myself and another former NFL player, Joe Gamble, we have our launch this Sunday for our Black superhero comic book that we have coming out called the Justice Duo, which is is definitely good. It's a comic book, but it's touching on it's social issues in our neighborhood. But yeah, just on the screen out the foundation work is just like I said, I felt like it was my purpose and my job to come back to my hometown and give back because I was able to make it out. So that was www.tavonmasonlovethekids.org. And you can click the heading and you can see everything on there from what we do, what we're about in a community, even on how to purchase my children's book.
Thank you, Tavon. Marcus.
So I have two foundations. One is called the M2 Foundation, and that's based around single mothers. Of course, I started that when I got to the NFL because uh, my sister, she had kids at a young age, and I wanted to do something for single moms that don't really have the means to do that. And like, if you wanted to see um, that page as far as the M2 Foundation is called the M2Foundation.org. You can go on there and see everything that we do. I did a 7-on-7 tournament. I did a walk, a Wonder Woman walk. We did a Christmas drive when I was in Seattle. And then I also have the Circle of M, which is the foundation that I just started. It's based around mental health. Us just really having a conversation, talking about mental health because that is something that is in need, and especially in our world today and right now. All young people and everything that we're doing. I dealt with mental health playing in football, and I think it's a taboo when it comes to athletes, and we have to be this strong and this person that don't show emotion. So that's something else. And then I also have a children's book. It's called Bath Time with Rye. So I talked about the bath time, so I created a children's book. In COVID, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just create a children's book about it. So that's just a little bit about me and my foundations.
Appreciate it. Etan.
That's great. So I have a foundation, the Tom Thomas Foundation. I'm really, focused on, motivating young people, motivating the youth. I put on these panel discussions Before COVID, I was doing that more. COVID changes everything. Throwing all these panel discussions and getting different guys and former athletes and entertainers, and because like we said before, they hear it differently coming from us. That's just the way that it is. I mean, that's how I was when I was younger. I remember when Wayman Tisdale came to my middle school. I remember John Starks talking in middle school, and Lee Mayberry, and we listened to every word they said, like everything. So I know the power of that. And I'm talking about my book, my fatherhood book, and I'm still doing a lot of stuff with that. And it was really a blessing to be able to do that. After I put out the fatherhood book, I started working with he was then President Obama. I still call him President Obama, but I can still say, okay, all right. President Obama's fatherhood initiative, and really encouraging young people, like I said before, who were growing up in single parent households, just to know that it doesn't have to be the way of the statistics. You don't have to go that route. And also to showcase, especially Black fathers. One of the things that we're constantly vilified in the media as far as being Black fathers, and that we're always absent, and we don't have especially as Black athletes. I mean, because you have Black men in general being vilified as fathers, but then Black athletes on a whole different level. And it's I just wanted to be able to show. I'm like, well, y'all don't see what we see, like after the game, you don't see the images of the kids all together running into the fire. So I just wanted them to all talk about that, and interviewing all these different brothers, talking about how much they love their children. That's it. How much you're growing, learning, because it's a whole process. And, that's why I called it, rising to the ultimate challenge, because it is an ultimate challenge, but it's also the ultimate blessing. And to be able to, have this life that you're shaping and that is influenced by you, and they're watching you, and that is just it's such a special dynamic and a special bond. So, but hearing Black men in general, specifically talking about that, how motivating it is. I mean, it's crazy. And you really get validified by that when other people come in and they speak to you and they say, hey, I read your fatherhood book, or I saw you speak at my school and you talked about, or something like that. You know what I mean? Just something small. You're like, wow, you changed my life. I started looking at, and that's when you really are reaffirmed that, what you're doing is, and we're all blessed to have been professional athletes. We're all blessed to be able to be in the spotlight and using that position and that platform to then be blessings to somebody else, whether it's through foundations, whether it's through books, whether it's through speaking, whether it's through coaching. And that's all part of us using our blessing. And it's just special. So I appreciate you, having us coming on the show and talking about this, because this is going to help a lot of people watching this, both young and older. You know what I mean? New fathers, you know what I mean? Young people looking at it, hearing us talk about this stuff and being open about stuff. Like we talk about the stuff as far as when we come into the league and the stuff with girls. That's real stuff that cats need to be honest about and talk about, So I appreciate you putting us on this platform and letting us speak about it.
Hey, guys, it's been real. We appreciate you. Again, this is a Foundation Conversations. This is March Dadness, conversations about living and leading as fathers and professional athletes. I want to thank each and every one of you. We appreciate you. We appreciate the knowledge and the openness that you've brought to this panel today. And look, from the comments alone, I can tell you're making a difference. So we thank you for continuously making a difference in our community. So hold on for us one tight, folks, and we appreciate you for tuning in again. You guys take care.